In this video class, I'm taking into account an important, very important topic that is nothing but doctrine of caveat emptor. Doctrine of caveat emptor. So, what is the meaning of this? Let the buyer beware. Let the buyer beware. When he is purchasing any commodity or any goods, he must be careful. Okay, what quantity of commodity I am purchasing, and what is the quality of the commodity I am purchasing, whether the quality is according to my requirement, okay, and whether it is up to my mark, and for what purpose I have to purchase the commodity, in what quantity I have to purchase, where to purchase, when to purchase, what to purchase, and how to purchase. These are all the things that a consumer or a buyer or a purchaser must be aware. Unless otherwise he is not aware of all these things, it is mere waste to go for purchase of commodities. He should not go for that. He should not think about that. So that is nothing but doctrine of caveat emptor. The meaning of that is let the buyer beware. When he is going to purchase any commodity, okay, he must be very careful. He must be very careful, unless otherwise, okay, lot of mistakes and malpractices and misappropriations may take place. So that is nothing but doctrine of caveat emptor. Sir, why the purchaser he must be, unless otherwise, he is not in that careful manner, when he is not aware of himself, okay, that won't become a purchase. Moreover, the seller also he must be beware, because he is also a purchaser with another person. When he is purchasing, how much care and care he will take. In the same way, a common man as a purchaser also he must be in that carefulness. Okay, in that careful way he has to purchase. Otherwise, it seems to be waste. It seems to be waste of purchasing. Okay, so this is the important thing that we come across. Doctrine of caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. Beware of what? Beware of purchasing the commodities. In a contract of sale, the seller is under no duty to reveal unflattering truths about the goods sold. Okay. When you are going for a contract of sale, the seller always concentrate how to mint money, how to dispose of the goods and how to get money. In that way only you think. And how much profit can I earn? So what he will do is, in a contract of sale, the seller is under no duty to reveal unflattering truths about the goods sold. He'll say that all the goods are good in condition, but he won't tell any unflattering truths. Okay, that these goods are good, these goods are bad, like that he won't. He'll say that all the goods, whatever he is ready to keep and whatever he is selling, they are good, but he won't give any truth. So when he won't give any truth, it is the duty of the purchaser to look after. Therefore, a person who purchases them must examine thoroughly 1 to 2 times, or 2 to 3 times also he has to examine. If the goods are defective or do not suit for his purpose, or when he makes a bad selection, he cannot blame anybody except him. See the peculiarity. Okay, if the goods are defective, first thing is, or do not suit for his purpose, they won't say if they won't serve his purpose, or when he makes a bad selection, when he makes a bad selection, he cannot claim anybody except him. He has to scold himself. He has to blame himself, not anybody. Example, a H purchased oats from, yes, oats, not he. H purchased oats from, yes, a sample of which has been given to it. H wrongly thought that they were old, but they oats were new. Were new. He cannot avoid the contract. So this is the example that we'll come across. Now, for this caveat emptor, we will have some exceptions. So what are the exceptions? Fitness for buyers. The first one is fitness for buyers. Sale of patents and trademarks. Mercantile quality. Usage of trade. Suit for price. These are the various things that we'll come across as the exceptions for caveat emptor. So what are the exceptions? One by one, let us see. Fitness for buyers. When the buyer expressly or impliedly makes known to the seller the purpose for which he required the goods, rely on seller's skill and judgment and goods of description. The seller must supply goods which shall be fit for the buyer's purpose. Suppose if the purchaser, if he cannot think and if he cannot select in a good manner, then what he has to do is he has to tell that openly to the seller. When the buyer expressly or impliedly makes known to the seller the purpose for which he required the goods, rely on seller. Okay, rely on seller's skill and judgment and goods of description. The seller must supply goods which shall be fit for the buyer's purpose. In this context, I'm going to give you an example. Suppose if you're feeling with cold and cough, and if you think that it is little bit difficult for you to go and consult a doctor, then what you will do is you'll go to the medical shop. You'll go to the medical shop and you'll say that, sir, I'm suffering from cold and cough. Is there any good medicine? Please give me a good medicine for controlling of this cough and cold. Then the medical shop owner, he will give a genuine medicine for the control of cold and cough. And when you, okay, instead of that, if you go to a doctor, he'll say that you have to take this X-ray, this scanning, this ECG, everything, and he will give a big bill. Just for, okay, 20 rupees cost, you have to pay 2,000 rupees over there. Just 20 rupees is enough for you to control your cold and cough. Okay, but when you won't give much importance for this, and when you want to go and select consult a doctor, he will charge 2,000. That is 100 times more. So you have to inform to the seller for what purpose you want to purchase the goods. So then the seller, he will select the goods and he will give a good products for your best fitness. That is nothing but one thing. Sale of patents and trademarks. In a contract of sale of a specified commodity under a patent or trademark, there is no implied condition that the goods shall be fitted for any particular purpose. Okay. So, patents and trademarks. This is also very, very important. Okay. In this context, I'm going to give you an example. Suppose in a family, the people, they are using this Colgate. Okay. Regularly, they are using Colgate paste and they're cleaning their teeth. Okay. So taking into account the emblem, the trademark and the patent, even old people also who don't know the product's name completely and the configuration, that all those things, okay, even though they don't know, taking into account the patents and trademarks, they will go and they can purchase easily. Okay, so that is nothing but the purpose of sale of patents and trademarks. Next, mercantilable quality. When goods are purchased by description from a seller who deals in goods of that description, there is no implied condition that the goods shall be of mercantilable quality. So whatever it may be the description of the goods, when you come to know from the seller, when you want to purchase the goods, you will give much importance for the description of the goods rather than seeing them. So description is always good. That is, they'll give the mercantilable quality of goods only. Next, usage of trade. An implied warranty as to quality or fitness for a particular purpose may be fixed by usage or custom. Okay, there is no necessity for you to go for caveat emptor. There is no necessity for you to go for caveat emptor. Okay, if you know the usage and if you know the custom, automatically they'll give the same type of product only, but not any different product. There is no necessity for the buyer to break his head, because usage of trade, what is the trade, the custom, what is the trade, what is the tradition, that you will come across. People, they will come to know, and according to that they will give. Next, suit for price. When the seller delivered goods to the buyer and the buyer is defaulted person, the seller has the right to sue for price. Okay, so whatever may be the commodities that you want, if the seller provided you, and if you are a defaulted person, immediately the seller can sue for the price of the commodities, whatever he supplied. These are the various exceptions that we will come across for caveat emptor. So this is a very, very important topic for you when you go for Sale of Goods Act. And after this, we'll come across transfer of ownership or transfer of property, where this thing is to be given much attention. Transfer of property or ownership. Okay, transfer of property or ownership. This transfer of property or ownership is also a part and parcel of the Sale of Goods Act. That is, when you are transferring a property to your sons, it is nothing but one type of sale. It is nothing but one type of sale. So we'll concentrate on that, okay, in the next video class. Until then, take care. Goodbye.